Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to look into today is that of Paige Johnson. She was a 17-year-old girl who went missing in 2010. This case was suggested by no one, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have. And of course, if you have any more, let me know. Paige was born in August of 1993 to her mother Donna, and annoyingly I couldn't find her father's name. I don't know whether it is publicly known, and if you guys know of it then please do let me know. Personally, I just couldn't find it no matter how much digging and trawling I did. I could find though that she had an older sister called Brittany who was 3 years older than her, and they were very close. There isn't much known about a child of either, which is really frustrating because you don't like to make these cases all about what happened to them. You like to know the person before the tragic thing that happened to them. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. She was described though as being this social butterfly who would always be there if you needed to talk to someone. She was just that kind of person. She was also very athletic. She did cheerleading and gymnastics. She was said to be the life of the room, and she always walked about with a smile on her face. She also loved to dance, and she had a lot of talent. She had a lot of rhythm and things like that, and she looked really good when she was dancing. Her sister described her as her best friend. Now, Brittany, her sister, fell pregnant, and Paige also fell pregnant. She was 15 years old at the time, and they kind of shared the experience of pregnancy together. Brittany does admit that they went to parties and drunk and stuff like that. They were young. I guess they didn't understand the dangers of alcohol in children and stuff. I'm not trying to say anything bad about them for that. I'm just stating facts as to that is what they did. But Paige loved her daughter. She absolutely adored her. She called her Mackenzie, and she decided that she was going to drop out of Simon Kenton High School to look after her. She wanted to be there for her. Yes, she still did go out and party and be a teenager and do all of that. But she was still there for her daughter as well, and she absolutely adored her, proper adored her. When she dropped out of school though, she was just getting used to being a mum, like a young mum, and she just wanted to be there for her kid. On the 22nd of September in 2010, Paige was supposedly going to this party. She was going to meet up with a few friends and just chill out there. It was in a nearby town in Covington. Again, I told you already, she did go out partying a lot, so it wasn't abnormal to see her at parties. And by all accounts, she did actually want Brittany to come, but Brittany had already had other plans and obviously didn't want to break them. So she apparently was supposed to meet her friend Jacob Bumpass, who was 22 years old, and she was supposed to meet him at this party and just hang out with him. The party was only supposed to be small. It only had a handful of people there. And so she left her mother's house in Florence, Kentucky, and they never saw her again. She was last seen leaving with Jacob a few hours after she had gotten there. And Donna, Paige's mother, from what I could find, didn't really like Jacob. I don't know why, I don't know the ins and outs, but she didn't like him being around her daughter. So whether he was some bad influence or something, or he had a reputation or a name for himself, I don't know, but she just didn't like him. As the evening progressed, Paige sent her sister a Facebook message. It said, "Girl, call me now, I need to talk to you ASAP." Brittany didn't actually see that message that night. This was back in 2010, and Facebook messaging system wasn't like it is now, and I believe maybe it didn't notify you when you had a new message or something like that, I don't know. But she didn't see it, she didn't get it that day. So Jacob claims to have dropped her off at 1 AM at this intersection in Covington, close by to where her sister was living, and this was on the 23rd. But Paige never made it back home. The next morning, Donna wakes up to find that Paige wasn't there. She didn't worry initially. Don't know whether it's a normal thing for them to do, but she just assumed that she was out with a friend or had stayed at a friend's or something like that. Brittany obviously found out that she hadn't come home yet, and she called up Jacob, who told her that initially Paige never turned up and basically stood him up. And Brittany didn't think much of that because she just felt like she probably had gone to a different party or something like that. She didn't worry about it, and it wasn't until the next day when Paige still hadn't come home that people began to fully worry. No one had heard anything from her at all, and they'd not seen her, and yeah, they were panicking. Brittany rang around her friends, and they didn't know where she was either. They'd not seen her. She then called Donna, who was already on her way out of town. I don't know what for, whether it was a work thing or whatever. but she was on her way out of town and she just turned back around and drove straight back home. Paige had just seemingly vanished. She left behind her 2-year-old little girl, and it was totally out of character for her. She would have never ever left Mackenzie. She absolutely loved her to pieces, and it's just something she would not have done. And so obviously it's either a runaway or an abduction or something like that, isn't it? And they were thinking that she definitely wasn't a runaway. Brittany reported her sister as missing, and initially the police did think she was a runaway. I mean, same old, isn't it? They thought she'd ran away, she would come back soon, blah blah blah. Leave it a couple of days and she'll be back. But her family didn't believe that. Her family were out there straight away. They were looking for her. They knew she wouldn't just leave. Her father and his girlfriend went out looking. You know, her family, her friends, people in the community that heard about her missing were all out there. They were posting flyers all over town. They were just trying so desperately to find Paige. The strange thing was though, Jacob, one of her really good friends, wasn't out joining the search. Like, he didn't help at all, which is weird, right? Like, if your friend's missing, you're one of the first ones out there looking for her, but he wasn't. Eventually, when the police did take it more seriously and figured that she wasn't just a runaway, I guess, they ended up doing this whole huge multi-county search for her. But no matter how much they tried, no matter where they looked, it didn't uncover anything. Jacob, as I said, claimed that he dropped off Paige at 15 and Scott around 1 AM, right? But according to authorities, his phone never pinged there. Like, at all. Instead, his phone pinged at Florence, and that was around 1 AM, so obviously he's not telling the entire truth there. Then his phone also pinged at East Fork Lake between 4:15 and 4:30 AM. He apparently sent a text message from East Fork State Park. Now, of course, because his phone was pinging around this area, the police began searching the park. It prompted this massive scale search of the 10,000 acre park. They had cadaver dogs out, they had everything, but it didn't uncover anything. Of course, during this time, they're interviewing people, and they interviewed people at this party, and they were just basically saying that they saw Paige passed out and being carried out by Jacob and possibly some other man. Some people said that Paige looked like she was really out of it at the party. Like, I don't know whether she had been drugged or whether she was just so drunk that she just couldn't basically stand. But one friend said that she goes to hug them, but she's fully across the room. So she leans forward in for a hug to this person who's at the other side of the room, and she just falls flat on her face. That was how bad she was. The police really do believe that there are multiple people out there that knows what happened to Paige. But the problem was that interviewing people at that party, they were drunk. Their memories were hazy, some people were on drugs, their stories changed a lot during the night and differed from person to person, and that just made this case so difficult. Jacob was apparently known to be involved with drugs, and so one theory that sprung up pretty early in this case was that maybe Paige had an overdose, whether it was, you know, her testing drugs herself, or whether it was like a roofie, like a date rape drug, I don't know. But maybe she was on these drugs and that she overdosed and died as a result of them. Jacob then panics, believes that nobody will believe, you know, that he was innocent in all this, and so he gets rid of her body. Jacob was actually filed a wrongful death lawsuit, and he pleaded the fifth, and he literally wouldn't say a word to anything that happened. He also did refuse to take a lie detector test. Not that that really proves anything, because, you know, they can give false readings, but they're kind of accurate at giving, like, how nervous someone is, I guess. They're just not admissible in court. There was also this other rumour that her body had been put into this lake or the Ohio River. In an affidavit that was sent out to obtain warrants, it was said that they had information that a criminal offence had occurred. It was also stated that Jacob hadn't really cooperated with the investigators, like at all, throughout the entire investigation, despite being one of the last people to be seen with her. Despite all that, Jacob was never named as an official suspect in the case, and he was never arrested in relation to her case at all. And of course, since Paige has gone missing, her family were utterly devastated, and really sad news occurred when her father and her grandmother passed away without ever knowing what happened to the daughter and the granddaughter, and that is just so heartbreaking. And I did read that her mother, Donna, really hoped to find out what happened to her daughter before she passed away, so she was really holding out for any information whatsoever. There remained nothing in her case for 9 years. It remained unsolved. The police did say that they received about 1 to 2, 3 tips a month on it still, and that the case was still open, but you know, despite all of that, it didn't lead anywhere and it just remained unsolved. Then, on the 25th of March in 2020, it was announced to the public that a passerby had found some remains in Claremont County, Ohio, 3 days prior to the announcement. A woman called up 911 stating that her husband had gone out deer hunting and he had found this human skull that had been burned. The police attended and found other things that were likely associated with the body. The remains were confirmed to be that of Paige Johnson, and that was verified through dental records, and this is literally 10 years after she's gone missing. They found her in the woods near State Route 276, and that was just 1.5 miles away from where Jacob's phone last pinged. You remember that 4:15 a.m. ping? It was near East Fork State Park. Well, yeah, she was found just 1.5 miles away from that. The police did this news conference, and during that they said that a few people have lied, a few people have told half-truths, and had not been cooperative over the years, and that they should be very nervous right now. In July of 2020, Jacob Bumpass was indicted on charges of abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence in connection with Paige Johnson's case, with her disappearance and death. He did appear in court and pled not guilty. I do believe his bond was set for $50,000 and that was paid, and that he is now out on bail kind of thing. I believe that there are no homicide charges being brought as of yet because they have still yet to discover Paige's cause of death. Whether they ever will be able to, because 10 years passed by, she was out there, she's literally skeletal remains at this point. Sometimes they just can't find the cause of death. Unless like there's penetrative or something, wounds like that, what you can see on the bones and things. I don't know. I'm hoping that they find out a cause of death, but we'll just have to keep our eyes out for that. This case was tragic, like literally her family not knowing what happened to her for 10 years. And then her father and grandmother never finding that out. Her mother and sister, you know, they finally got her body, but I believe it wasn't all of her body. And I did read somewhere that Donna, her mother, just wanted to lay her daughter to rest in her entirety. She was thankful that obviously she'd finally found out what happened to her daughter. Well, she hasn't found out what happened to her, but she found her remains. She knows that she is no longer alive, and she can finally lay her to rest, but she does want to lay her entire body to rest. Whether that will ever happen, I do not know. I doubt they'll ever find the rest of her remains. Like I said, I don't know what's missing, but whether they just found a skull or what, I just don't think they found her entire body. So keep your eyes open on this one. We might see some movement in this case, and if Jacob did commit foul play against Paige, then hopefully he will be tried for that and we will get the justice, and Paige will get the justice she deserves, and her family will get the justice they deserve. I'll keep you up to date on this case. I'll keep checking in on it every now and again, whether it's just a pinned post on this video or whether I do an update video if there's ever a trial or any more news on it. I don't know as of yet, but I will keep you up to date. This case was tragic. She literally went to a party and just never came home. And it's just, she was 17 years old and then she was found 10 years later deceased. Personally, all the information points to Jacob. I'm not saying he did it. I do not know. But he was the last to be seen with her. His phone, he lied about where he was. His pings were in the same area, you know, not far from where her body was found. So I don't know whether it was accidental, like a drug overdose, or whether it was he just killed her. I do not know. I don't know even if he did it. It's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that it was Jacob? Do you think that she died of natural causes somehow? Like ended up in that woods on her own and just died? Or do you think it was an overdose? Just let me know what you guys think. My heart goes out to her family, of course, in such tragedy. But yeah, that is the end of the case. Give me a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and subscribe to my channel if you're want to be new to the pack. To my regulars, thank you, I appreciate you. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the case of Paige Johnson. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.